Alright, what is up everybody? This is Alex once again with another EOT Newsflash Extra. This is going to be a quick recap video of my weekend. I got to play in the first of two Eternal Master Seal PPTQs. Got to go up to Madness in Denton, my old stomping grounds when I was in college, with my good buddies James, Two Tarns, and Sean. And we got to play Eternal Master Seal, so super sweet there. There were like 17 judges there. 3 actually judging the event, and then a ton of judges actually playing in the event, including one, Josh McCurley, represent the shirt, join the minions. Want to give a big shout out to Judge Jim and the rest of his crew for letting us use the store. Kept the AC running the entire day, which was fantastic. But you guys don't care about it. You guys want to see the pool. I only ended up going 3-3 with it, which was kind of a bummer. The wheels fell off in rounds 5 and 6. Unfortunately, mulligans happen as they do, and I think I made a couple of building decisions that weren't quite correct. And you know, if you think that you have a better way to build this pool, let me know in the comments. But definitely go back and check out the entire set if you have an event coming up, whether it's a draft or a seal tournament with a set. It's incredibly powerful, and no one thinks before you sit down is one of the best things you can do to set yourself for a journey. But yeah, we're gonna jump right into the pool. The cards are sweet. It's Eternal Masters. We're gonna run right into the white card. So check it. Okay, here we are, starting right off with the white cards. Starting up right here in the top corner, we got double Squadron Hawks. Great little evasive flyer that can really get the other copy. Lots of games that that if you have multiple of these, I would definitely highly suggest playing them. One of my top 5 white best uncommons for sure. We also had ourselves a Field of Souls, a great way to get extra value out of your creatures once they're dead. We've got Core Hookmaster, a solid way to slow down early aggressive starts, and a really solid, casting cost. 3 mana for a 2/2 is always good, and then the upside is always fantastic. We have Intangible Virtue here, which would combo really nicely with the Field of Souls if we have ourselves a really solid white token deck. We have Second Thoughts, kind of a costly removal spell, unfortunately, but definitely still a solid one to go with. If you're liking some high-end removal, it draws a card as well. It is a little bit strict on what you have to have, and that's an attacking creature, but as far as just strip exiling, it's still a pretty solid way to go and just pump out a creature. Double Mistral Charger, 2 1s for 2 that fly, just solid value right there. Have ourselves Raise the Alarm, good for ambushing people with tokens. Combos again really nicely with Intangible Virtue. Benevolent Bodyguard, a solid little 1-drop that can give plant protection. Not super excited about that guy. We have Shelter, give your creature you control target protection from a color of your choice until end of turn, draw a card. Decent little combat trick, but something I'm not really all excited about. We have Monk Idealist, that gets back enchantments from your graveyard. And last but not least, and another Benevolent Bodyguard, which we put them together. And last but not least, we have probably one of those effective cards in combat or just spot removal, and that is 8.5 Tails. This card just messes up combat for so many different players, especially if you're playing white. It makes your abilities that much better. You have the best mana to turn things white, but it's a little stiff on the mana cost. But if you can get this thing down, it is a super solid way to go up the board and really make combat a nightmare for your opponents. So yeah, those are the white cards in the pool, and we're going to move right into. Alright, and here we are, moving right along to the blue cards, starting right off with a super solid uncommon in Mana War. Goes really nicely, I think, with Core Hookmaster as far as stemming early aggression, or just late game beaters. Great way to bounce them back and see with their hand. Super solid uncommon. I keep thinking that it flies. I know it's a jellyfish. Jellyfish don't fly. Silly Alex. This guy does, however. This is Phantom Monster, just a super solid 3/3, 4 mana that flies, real solid in the air. And just, all around just great combat. I don't think you'd ever, leave this guy behind and play in the league. Also a pair of Giant Tortoise. This guy just, blocks practically everything in our game. As long as you use it on tap, he's got +2, +3. I don't think you're going to have a lot of situations in the early game where somebody's going to beat through this guy. And if you do, they're probably, stopping Rancor on one of their beaters. So, really solid comment right there. We also have Cephalid Sage. Underwhelming if you can't get its threshold ability off, but when you can fire off that kind of pseudo brainstorm, but you're discarding the cards instead, but it's mana threshold. Really solid creature to have in a deck that wants to draw a lot of cards. The only issue is going to be enabling that actual threshold ability. We also got Deep Analysis here, great way to filter some spells, late game flashing back, Halo Life. Not much of a downside, just as how raw and powerful this card actually is. Really like this one. Had ourselves a sweet Warden of Evo's Isle and foil. Make all the flyers with one less, get those Squadron Hawks down for 1 mana. Really sweet. Down here on our next row, we have Memory Lapse. Decent little counter spell, puts a quick card on top of their library instead of actually countering it. Screeching Scab. Good way, again, to enable things with Cephalid Sage. Good, so like I said, good way to enable that threshold ability on there. And also a decent little blocker by itself. I also have Glacial Wall as well, which is a great way to just kind of stem early aggression, but you're not really doing anything all that defensive with it, or offensive with it in those early games. Next up, we've got Mystical Tutor. Search your library for an instant or sorcery, put it on top of your library, and then have your opponent shuffle your library. Before you put it on top, that's important. If you've got good cheap spells, good removal, good counter spells, this is a great card to have. Just to go and get anything you need in your upkeep or other end step. And just have the ability to have those spells to access. And then there's this guy. It's Jace the Mind Sculptor. There's nothing I need to say about Jace. Jace is great. If you go into Jace, you want to play Jace. It was kind of funny. I sat across from Sean during the registration of our pools. He opened his pool first, got a Jace. I opened my pool, got a Jace, and also another card we'll get to here at the end of the set, sort of the pool review. That was pretty awesome as well. But really liked what I had in blue going, and we'll be right back to kind of look at the black. Okay, moving on to our black cards, starting off with a couple of rune spells. We got Tragic Slip, Double Innocent Blood, and Annihilate. Pretty solid ways of being able to clear out some creatures. Innocent Blood less so. It's better to more of an early game player to clear out that last blocker that your opponent has, or just kind of, force them to make a choice, but also remember that we have to make a choice as well. So if you have a creature that you want to throw away, it's not terrible, but definitely better as an early play if you don't have anything on the board and just, once it pretty solid. Tragic Slip, can kill everything in this format that doesn't have Shred Out and while they're enable, super solid. And now it's a little bit more restrictive, and that requires you to be a non-black creature, which is, kind of a downside. But at 5 mana, it's a little bit pricier than where you want it to be on removal, but it will also draw you a card, so definitely a pretty solid contender as far as your removal goes. If you have Carrion Feeders, can't block, but it does get really big if you've got a creature to sacrifice to it, or a bunch of creatures to sacrifice to it. So if you have sort of like a recursive deck that you kind of have going, very, very solid in that regard. We have our Skulking Ghost. Sacrifices itself, if you get started by a spell or ability, but a good little evasive flyer. Plague Witch is a decent discard outlet if you're kind of in your deck and can kill lots of level 1/1s, or just excellent in that regard. We've got Phyrexian Rager, one of my favorite commons in this set. Lose the life, draw a card for 3 mana and 2/2 body. I'll pay that any day. We have Gravedigger, one of the other best commons in this set, I think, for black at least. Great way to recur effects with opponents killed and just start looping them over and over. Wake of Vultures, solid little guy, again as another sacrifice outlet. But I'm not too impressed with what this guy does, so I'm usually not too keen on playing him. We have Duress, lots of powerful spells in this format that I think are definitely worth having to get out of your opponent's hand. And just, knowledge is power. And our last black card, we have Urborg Uprising. Pretty expensive as far as getting 2 cards out of your graveyard is concerned, but drawing a card is a pretty solid upside. I can see if you have a nice little recursive deck going, maybe just comboing with Wake of Vultures and Gravedigger, this is another solid card to have to go with. Yeah, and those are our black cards, and let's move right along to the red. Okay, and moving right into our red cards, starting off with a pair of Wildflower Emissaries. Every pack has a foil, and some of these cards look obscenely good in foil. Pretty solid guy for the body, 2/4 pro white, and it has bad fire breathing. Decent little card filler, and one that I might have to think about playing, but definitely a solid contender if you are in a defensive, possibly red-black, or maybe a blue-red tempo, maybe control deck. We have Pyrokinesis, 4 double red. You can split damage up 4 different ways, or you can exile a red card from your hand and cast it that way, which is pretty sweet. I'm surprised you're comfortable with it. Now we have Fervent Cathar, good little guy that can just kind of get some damage in the early game. Other than that, nothing too exciting. We have Squadron Hawk's big brother, Avarax. Go and get powered into Avarax once you play this guy. Again, bad fire breathing, and the consensus was that if you have these in your pool, you should only play 2 of them from the weekend. So, how many Avaraxes is correct? Only 2. We've got a pair of Get To Slinger, a good little guy to get some damage to it early, or get some damage to it in the game, clear out a blocker or an attacker your opponent is playing. The Echo Cost is a bit of a downside to it, but I saw a couple people playing this guy to great effect, so I was more impressed with this guy the more I saw him get played. Kelvin Marauders, this thing is absolutely annoying to play against. It's usually good for at least 5 damage, unless your opponent's played a blocker to kind of jump with it. Very, very solid comment right here. We've got Mog Fanatic. Not super impressed by this guy, but if you're in a more aggressive red deck, I can see him having a place in your deck. We have a pair of Seismic Stomps. Creatures that are flying can block this turn. There's a lot of flyers in this sealed format, and to an extent, even the draft format, White Cards is a very powerful archetype. These probably need to stay in your sideboard unless you've got a pretty good read on your table or the rest of the room, which I hope you have because I have cheating with the other players' pools. Sideboard this one for sure. Now we have Undying Rage here, kind of like a bigger version of Rancor without the trample ability, but you still get it back if the creature dies, so pretty solid little enchantment right there. We have Beetleback Chief, who brings his little army with him. We have Dragon Fodder, which is I'm actually pretty high on now. You have a blocker, it saves some damage, and then you get a 2/2 flyer, which is super solid. Now we've got Sting Scourger, which, again, this is a guy that's pretty hard to justify until you realize that that's bounce and red. And if you can play it late in the game when they put a big bomb, paying the echo cost isn't all that bad. We have Young Keezy, Young Pyromancer. Great little guy who has a couple of instant speed spells and sorceries to go with him. Can just create an army out of nowhere. And we also have Pyroblast, which is a card that I would only say sideboard again unless you're drafting. You've got a really good read on the table, lots of blue decks. Great little way to just destroy any blue permanent problem or just counter a spell when they don't think you've got anything. But yeah, weather's been pretty good. And we're going to finish up and then we're going to go to the green. Alright, moving right along into our green cards, starting right off with Harmonize. Excellent card advantage spell in green, something that you don't usually see in green. My favorite green comment is Werebear. If you're playing Threshold, jam this guy and make it big. A pair of Fogs, don't play those. Next, we've got ourselves a sweet little enchantment package right here, starting right off with Abundant Growth, Ancestral Mask, Elephant Guide, a pair of Yavimaya Enchantresses to go with them, Seal of Strength and Holdings of Life's Web. Now, if you've got the enchantments to go with these enchantresses right here, which we kind of have a sub-theme going with, this could have been could be a really solid package for our deck to go with. Definitely good there. And also this subsection of elves that I opened up. We've got a Timberwatch Elf, Elvish Vanguard, Civic Wayfinder, Lissalana Huntmaster, and a pair of Thornwood Altars. We got to play Black-Green Elves on the draft on Friday, which was absolutely powerful if you got the right payout card. I was fortunately able to. But this is a good little start to an elf shell here. I was definitely looking at this to see if I could do something with these elves in my deck. Yep, that's the green cards, and we're going to move right along into our gold. Okay, I know I said I was going to do gold next, but there's only so many gold cards and artifacts and lands in this set, so I decided to do it all in one side of the video. But yeah, all that we're missing right here was the Mishra's Factory that I pulled, but Sean's got that now for the Legacy Eldrazi deck, so he's got that right now. But other than that, all of the 2-color life gain lands in this set are really great. If they're in your colors, play them. If you're playing a 3-color deck, it's great with a splash for those colors. Even if you are in just 2 colors and you have one to take me out of your colors, if you're playing like blue-red and you have one of the blue-white ones, or the red-white one, they're super solid just to splash for that incidental life gain. If you draw it early enough, it's not going to hurt you all that much, and that life gain might actually make a difference. So these are really great to play, and you know, if you're drafting, you know, you can take these pretty highly if you're trying to splash into a third color, or just want to fix your mana with there's not a better pick there. I definitely undervalued these in the set review, and going back on that statement now, these are a lot better than I took them for granted. Next one we got gold cards right here: Zealous Persecution, Shaman of the Pack, Vindicate, Flamekin Zealot. Again, we had all those elves in our green cards, so maybe that Shaman of the Pack's gonna make the cut. Zealous Persecution is where we can put out small tokens, or playing tokens yourself. Vindicate is an all-around good removal spell. If you're in either of those colors, it's pretty easy to splash. And Flamekin Zealot's also very powerful in a red-white aggressive deck. Maybe if you're playing tokens, it's a great way to power through with a lot of tokens. And next, let's move on down to our artifacts. We've got Mindless Automaton. I don't know this guy still. He just seems, if you're playing a slow grinding deck that wants to discard some cards and get some value out of that, maybe worth it. I'm not sure though. We've got Winter Orb, which is probably the second most egregious card to play against other than Sulfuric Vortex. Not sure where this goes just yet, but it's still pretty sweet. Warden Power Stone. Was excited to open this, less so after playing it. Just spoiling right now, I did put it in my deck to begin with. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, and I didn't have any anything I was really ranting into that wanted to stick around until turn 3. That being said, I did play one piece of that in my Mana Crypt here. This is a pretty hotly contested card right here in terms of whether or not to play this in your sealed pools. If the games grind down, this will eventually kill you. I did lose 3 flips in a row in one game, but I actually ended up winning that, thankfully. But this card is so powerful in what it does, that I think the downside is absolutely worth it, and it's absolutely gorgeous too. So yeah, so that is the sealed pool we got. Went through all of our colors, all of our lands, artifacts, and gold cards. And now I'm going to show you guys the deck that I ended up building and playing for most of the tournament. Okay, here we are, the deck that played for the majority of the PPTQ this weekend. Ended up in sort of an Espery tempo control deck of sorts. Of course, I played the land legend for it. Had to play the Mana Crypt because, you know, it's Mana Crypt. Mystical Tutor. I tried to accept some Innocent Blood, and made for a pretty nice removal package, especially commonly with the Mystical Tutor. Also had our Mistral Charter, Squadron Hawk, 8.5 Tails, Raise the Alarm, Vindicate, Warden Power Stone, the Warden, Hookmaster, and Mana War. Both Phantom Monsters and Cephalid Sage, Field of Souls, Deep Analysis. Of course, he had to play Jace. And Second Thoughts. Now, as I started out doing really well, I ended up going into round 5. I was at 3-1 and pretty much just had to win that 5th round and then draw in the 6th round to make top 8, I think. And it probably would have worked out in my favor if I'm not mistaken. But I definitely think that I made some mistakes here building this deck. Looking at it now, you know, the 2 Innocent Bloods probably weren't all that worth it. Even with the early game aggression that I saw in a couple of decks, it's not all that great in clearing out creatures, especially if you've already got a board state. You know, you just don't want to lose a creature that you know as valuable as they are. So I kind of did some really cool that I played over here. In my last round, I did bring in the 2 Giant Tortoise. I was playing against Josh McCurley, of course, and he was on a pretty aggressive Naya deck, and so I wanted to have some early game blockers to go with anything else. Screeching Scab to power up cards like the Cephalid Sage, and you know, maybe even get Deep Analysis in the graveyard to do an easy flashback, and also Memory Lapse, just have a decent, you know, tempo and counter spell. And also that would just make my mana a lot smoother. There were a lot of games where I was only drawing 1 island and having multiple blue spells in my hand, or just couldn't catch Jace for a while. But then there were some games where everything worked out just fine, and you know, variance is variance. But this deck was a lot of fun to play. I would also cut the Warden Power Stone. Unless you've got something to really accelerate into, I would not play this card in your pools. Coming into play tap and even adding 2 mana really isn't worth it. But I think, you know, if I do it again, you know, fix the mana up a little bit more, not play as many swamps. I think I ended up playing 3 swamps in this deck to go along with the black cards. Probably cut that down to maybe, you know, only, you know, the Dizzle Backwater and maybe 2 extra swamps. Only play Treasure Slip and Vindicate, cut the Warm Power Stone, the 2 Innocent Bloods, and then play those 4 cards over here that I mentioned a minute ago. There might be something else I might have missed as well. But all in all, this was a super sweet PPTQ to play at, and I basically using it as a warm-up for this weekend's tournament over at Common Ground Games. It's going to be a lot of fun, and if you haven't pre-registered for it and there's still spots open for it, I definitely recommend you sign up for it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, this format is just super sweet. So if you enjoyed this, definitely give it a like, let me know in the comments if you would have built this differently. And I look forward to sending new episodes of the EOT News Flash every week over on MTG Cast. And check us out on Facebook, all the good stuff, on Twitter. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys